There are some aircraft that quietly fade into history. Stripped for parts, forgotten about, or sat in a museum somewhere. Then we have certain other types of aircraft which continue to fly decades after they should have really retired. The VC-10 by Vickers is indeed one of these aircraft. With its slick, rear-mounted engines, its elegantly curved fuselage and its long swept-back wings, the VC-10 took flight in 1962, nearly 60 years ago, and still flies today. Not as a passenger aircraft, not as a museum showpiece, but a fully operational military aircraft carrying fuel, cargo and crews across the globe in 2025. So why does a plane that failed commercially continue to fly with such purpose here in 2025? This is a story of the Vickers VC-10, a tale of much more than just aviation, a tale of engineering brilliance, of stubborn determination, and a design foresight that allowed a commercial failure to become a military legend. We're going to be speaking about this aircraft and its history over tonight's video, so if you do enjoy, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, as I make all of these videos by myself and I don't use any AI, so I do appreciate all of the support. Now, for us to fully understand this aircraft, we need to first discover the world that shaped it. For this, we're heading back to the late 1950s and the early 1960s. At this time, whilst Britain didn't really have its empire anymore, they still had long, extensive routes which spanned across Africa, the Middle East and Asia. These resulted in long flights to remote airports that often had short runways, high altitudes, high temperatures and poorly maintained surfaces. What this meant is, at this time, most American jets such as the Boeing 707 or the Douglas DC-8 struggled in these conditions. The takeoff performance dropped severely, engines also risked ingesting debris, and then operational temperature safety added a few questionable traits too. For this reason, Britain required airliners which could take off from short or rough runways, operate in high temperatures and altitude environments, and also carry full passenger and cargo loads across continents. And this is where Vickers enters the story. They didn't want a plane that was optimized for massive profit. They wanted a plane optimized for performance where others could not deliver it. This was the VC-10, designed to do the impossible, and indeed we are going to see over the story that it did do this. This was an airliner purposefully designed for the extreme. From the start, the Vickers VC-10 design was bold and unusual. It had rear-mounted engines unlike most airliners of the time. The Vickers VC-10 had 4 Rolls-Royce Conway engines which were rear-mounted at the end of the fuselage, and this was not an aesthetic choice. There were several critical advantages to this design, the first of which was that the engines were high off the ground. This reduced the risk of damage from foreign objects outside of the aircraft and debris on runways. It also resulted in massively reduced noise, which made the cabin a lot more quiet and comfortable, and actually created an exceptional experience for passengers on this aircraft. Then we've got stories of weight distribution, as this allowed for excellent low-speed lift and takeoff performance, which were critical for these required short runways. Pilots often remark that this layout gave them a unique sense of balance in the sky, a feeling that is hard to describe but instantly recognizable once they have flown it. The wing was large, elegant and powerful. The Vickers VC-10 wings were wide, high aspect and expertly curved, which reflected decades of British engineering experience. They provided exceptional lift at low speeds, strong climb performance even under full loads, and strong stability during turbulence. Pilots absolutely loved it. Many claimed that it was one of the best handling large jets ever built. In a world where most airliners were becoming heavier, faster and less nimble, the VC-10 handled like a dream, particularly during takeoff and landing, an absolutely critical moment for this to be the case. The aircraft was also designed for engine power rather than efficiency. This meant that the Rolls-Royce Conway engines were powerful, reliable and smooth, designed to optimize for performance and thrust over raw efficiency. In hot and high altitude climates, the sort of situations which would often cripple other aircraft, the VC-10 could climb strongly and consistently. And collectively, the combination of all of these features, large wings, powerful engines and rear-mounted raw power, all helped to put the VC-10 into a niche that no other airliner could fill. Now, whilst this does sound amazing, the issue was that the VC-10 was simply too specialised for most of the market. Despite its brilliance, the VC-10 failed as a passenger airliner. Why? Well, the first reason, it was simply too expensive, both to build and operate. The second reason, of course, it was too specialized. It was optimized for routes that few airlines actually operated. Then there was simply the market dynamics, as many airlines favored cheaper to operate and more widely operated aircraft by Boeing and Douglas jets. And then politics also played a role, as British Airlines were pressured to buy domestic rather than buying jets from overseas, all whilst foreign airlines tended to avoid the VC-10. Only 54 VC-10s were ever built. The plane's commercial life was short, yet it had already created a reputation for unparalleled performance in extreme conditions. The Royal Air Force saw in the VC-10 what many airlines failed to, as it was perfect for military operations. The aircraft had many advantages. It had a strong and reliable airframe. It had a large fuselage for cargo and fuel. It had rear-mounted engines ideal for refueling operations, and it also had exceptional low-speed handling. The VC-10 therefore was often converted into aerial refueling units, alongside transport and cargo aircraft and strategic aircraft support units. All of a sudden, all of the characteristics which made it unfavourable for airlines made it an absolute military gem and asset, and this ties into why the VC-10 still flies today. The VC-10 was purposefully built with conservative safety margins, thick metal, careful engineering, which all meant that it was a very well constructed aircraft. Unlike many airliners today optimized for efficiency, the VC-10 was optimized for survivability and longevity. This conservative design meant that airframes retained structural soundness even after decades of service. It also had unique performance that few aircraft can rival. Remember, this plane can take off fully loaded from short runways. It can handle low-speed maneuvering gracefully. It can serve as a refueling unit or a platform in mid-air. And even to this day, the aircraft can do it much better than many alternatives can. Then we have the fact that pilots love it. Pilots often describe this aircraft as being one that is smooth, forgiving, and incredibly reliable. It's often referred to as one of the most pilot-friendly jets ever built. It has proven reliability with decades of operational service. It has quirks and weak points which were well understood by this time frame, which makes it predictable in terms of operation, and therefore it's critical for the military, as they need jets that they can rely on, that they understand, and that they can trust on their missions. The next point is that there is no direct replacement for the VC-10, as modern airliners simply cannot compete with its combination of strength, range, stability, and payload capacity. The VC-10 is simply an engineering marvel which stands out exceptionally even to this day. So whilst technically and overall a failed aircraft on the commercial side, the VC-10 is still remembered as an icon for a number of different reasons. It's remembered as one of the most elegant jets ever built, a technical marvel of British engineering. It's a sort of aircraft that proves sometimes engineering brilliance outlives economics, and capability can thrive even through efficiency. Decades after its inception, the VC-10 still rises into the sky as a simple reminder that sometimes good engineering never truly dies. The VC-10 is a story about much more than just an aircraft. It's a story of ambition. It is a story about integrity and stubborn brilliance. The plane that was overlooked, built for extremes, and yet embraced by the military. A plane that refuses to fade away into history. And this is the simple reason that in 2025, despite everything, the VC-10 still flies. Do let me know if you enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you so much for your time. If you did, of course, make sure to leave a like, and hopefully I'll see you again very soon. Goodbye for now.